You know the symbols, the all-seeing eye, that secret hand pulling the strings from the shadows. Yep, we're talking about the Illuminati. It's got to be one of the biggest, most persistent conspiracy theories out there, right? But what if I told you the real story is way, way more surprising than any myth you've ever heard?
So, secret rulers of the world? I mean, we've all heard the stories, haven't we? This powerful, super ancient group, manipulating governments, Wall Street, pop culture, the whole shebang. But is there any truth to it? Is there really a secret group pulling the strings of history? Well, it's time to dig in and separate the legend from the actual hard facts.
Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off right away. Take a look at this. On one side, you've got the myth, this global shadow government, ancient and all-powerful, controlling everything. And then you have the reality. It was a short-lived club in Bavaria. It started in 1776 and was completely gone by 1785. I mean, the difference is just staggering, isn't it? So the big question is, how on earth did we get from that to this?
All right, let's do this. Let's wind the clock all the way back and look at the group that actually existed. Forget the movies, forget the novels for a second. Let's find out who were the real Illuminati.
Okay, so here's our ground zero. May 1st, 1776. And yeah, you heard that right, the same year as the American Declaration of Independence. It was founded by this one guy, Adam Weishaupt. He wasn't some shadowy figure, he was a university professor of law and philosophy. And he was living in Bavaria, which you have to understand was a super conservative, church-run state back then.
So what was their big plan? World domination? Nope, not even close. You've got to remember, these guys were basically products of the Enlightenment. Their whole mission was to push back against the massive influence of the conservative church, especially in government and schools. They wanted to promote reason, education, and secular thinking. And their plan was to do it slowly, by getting influential people on their side. And this is a really key point. They were totally against violent revolution.
All right, so how big was this globe-spanning conspiracy? Were there millions of members? Hundreds of thousands? No. At its absolute peak, it had maybe 2,500 members total. That's it. Just a couple thousand people, and they were pretty much all located in German-speaking areas.
And to really put that number into perspective, just look at this comparison. You've got the Illuminati with their 2,500 members. Now look at the Freemasons during that same time period. They had over 200,000 members all across Europe. It's not even in the same league. The Illuminati were frankly a tiny little blip on the radar by comparison.
Okay, so if they were so small, what happened? Did they just go underground, waiting to strike? Did they continue their master plan in secret? Well, no, not exactly. Their end was actually incredibly fast and very, very public.
I mean, look at this timeline. The entire history of the real Illuminati fits into just 9 years. 9! They started in 1776, and by 1785, poof, they were gone. Basically, the super conservative government in Bavaria got really nervous about this secret club with its anti-church ideas, so the ruler at the time, Duke Karl Theodor, just outlawed them. He seized all their documents, and the whole thing just fell apart, instantly.
So that brings us to the craziest part of this whole story. How did a small, failed club that only lasted for 9 years become the villain in maybe the biggest conspiracy theory of all time? Okay, this is where things get really, really interesting.
I mean, this is the real mystery, isn't it? A tiny group that fizzled out over 200 years ago. They should just be a footnote in a history book somewhere. So why is the name Illuminati more famous today than it ever was back when the group was actually around? How does that happen?
So here's the absolute key to understanding this. The legend of the Illuminati didn't start when they were active. It started after they were already dead and gone. First, the government that shut them down published all their private papers, but totally out of context, which made them look super sinister. Then, a few years later, the French Revolution happens. All the conservative powers in Europe are terrified, and they need a villain to blame for the chaos. And guess what? This defunct secret society was the perfect scapegoat. From there, their story just gets blended with all this anti-Freemason paranoia, and then, well, for the next 2 centuries, pop culture just ran with it. Books, movies, they turned the legend into what we know today.
Okay, so we've looked at the history, we've looked at the hype. What's the big takeaway here? What does the Illuminati really represent today?
So here's the bottom line. What you should really take away from all this. First, the actual historical Illuminati organization has been gone for over 200 years. They were a small, regional group of thinkers, not a global superpower. The legend we all know, it was pretty much created by their enemies and then supercharged by pop culture.
What that means is, today, the Illuminati isn't a real group. It's a powerful symbol for our fear of secret control, not an actual cabal.
And that really brings us to this final thought, which I think says it all. The fact that this myth is so powerful, well, it says a lot less about Adam Weishaupt's little club and a whole lot more about us. About our need for simple answers in a world that feels incredibly complex. You know, sometimes it's just easier to believe there's a villain pulling the strings in the dark than it is to face the complicated, messy truth right out in the open.